Hi, I'm Scott. Welcome to Synth Stuff. Today we're going, when I say we, I mean you and me and this ridiculous excuse for a hairstyle I have today, are going to be looking at sound design on the Hydrasynth coming up. I get a lot of requests for sound design. Every time I show sound design on a synth, I get people say, hey, can you tell me how to do this sound? Hey, can you tell me how to do the sound from, the Van Halen whatever? Or can you tell me how to get that Thomas Dolby sound or what have it? So I started thinking, okay, what sound do I pick from a song to show how to create and which synthesizer do I do it on? And then I thought, you know what I'm gonna do is, a lot of the requests I get are for the Hydrasynth. I guess people get the Hydrasynth and they're overwhelmed with the options on it and they end up just using presets because they don't really know how to do sound design. So I thought, well, why don't I just do a couple of generic sounds on the Hydrasynth and then use some of the features in it just to give you an idea of the different features that can be used to create sounds on the Hydrasynth. Then I thought, okay, well, let me sit down for a few minutes and create a couple sounds and I'll just come up with a couple ideas that I will incorporate into the video. So I sat down at the Hydrasynth for about 20 to 30 minutes and I made a couple of sounds and I thought, you know what, I probably do better than that. So then I sat down and made a couple different sounds. And I liked those, and they were completely different than the first two. And I thought, you know what, the problem is with the Hydrasynth, I don't really sit down and say, I'm going to make a Thomas Dolby sound. On the Hydrasynth, I just pick a waveform and then I pick some mutants and just twiddle knobs and change things until I hear something that I like. And there are some techniques that go into selecting what you're going to do, but for the most part, I'm not just trying to recreate things on the Hydrasynth. I'm just trying to come up with sounds that sound interesting to me and that I like to hear. So I thought maybe we'll do that. We'll do one that's maybe like kind of a in-your-face kind of brash lead type sound. And then I thought maybe we could do some kind of polyrhythmic evolving pad kind of sound. How about that? I don't know what we're going to end up with here because every time I do this, the sounds come out completely different. But let's do a couple sounds on the Hydrasynth and you can get an idea of how I go about doing them. I don't believe it. So I just spent the last half hour doing two sounds on video and showing how I designed the sounds and doing all the stuff, and then realized that my recording had crapped out and it didn't record any audio from it at all. That's good and bad. The first sound actually came out not bad. It was a lead sound. You can see I called it Hot Lead SM. It's this one here. It's set up so that if you hold a note down, the filter fades it out, and if you push it into polyphonic aftertouch, you get a little modulation like that. I thought that was kind of a cool sound. Called it Hot Lead SM. I'm going to put all these sounds that I create up to download as links on this video. So if you look in the description below, you'll find download links for these sounds. This one I'm going to keep. Actually, I like how this one came out, so I'll include this one. I'll put this up there. But in the meantime, let's start over again. Actually, I will talk about the second sound that I did, which it sucked. I mean, sometimes it happens. You create a sound and you think it's going somewhere, and then you know what? It doesn't go anywhere, and the sound sucks. So let's not worry about that one because I didn't even bother saving it, because after I realized the audio had not recorded, I'm like, you know what? Screw this sound, I'm not keeping it. All right, so now we're in it. We're back at a standard init sound. Let's create a pad. Now we want a warm and lush sounding pad. Last time when I did this, I started off with a waveform that was less than warm and lush sounding. And then I tried to make it that way after the fact. All right, let's use that one to start with, anyway. So actually, let's try a bit redux on that. No, maybe not. All right, so Newton 7. That's going to be our main waveform for the start of our pad. And what are we going to do with Newton 7? Well, let's add another sound. So we'll bring up oscillator 2 in the mixer. Oops, where's the mixer? Over here. We're going to bring up oscillator 2. Oscillator 2, we're going to use, I don't know, a sawtooth? Standard sawtooth? Why not? Okay, so now we have these two sounds. On the first one, let's go back, actually bring out oscillator 2 for now. Let's just work on the first one. Oscillator 1, we're going to have a mutant on there. And what is that mutant going to be? FM? No. Wave stack. We want lots of warm wave stack. Okay, now let's bring in oscillator 2. Actually, before we do that, let's ring modulation. There's some nice harmonic content we can use. I think we need oscillator 3 as a sub-os, so let's bring in oscillator 3 as well. And we'll just bring it in as a sine wave just to reinforce that bottom end. That might be a bit too much. Yeah, that's a little too much of something in there. Let me hold that down and we'll just do some adjusting. All right, I think that'll do. Do we want a mutant on 2? Let's see, or maybe another mutant on 1? That's a little too much. And the others are, well, harmonic. No, I don't think so. What about on 2? We could maybe a harmonic mutant on there. Just a little top end. That sounds all right. Okay, so here's our bass sound. That's already sounding better than the last time we did it. So now we move into the filter section. We'll start with filter 1. We have a 12 decibel octave ladder filter. Let's change that to the low pass MS-20. All right, we could do something maybe with an envelope on that. So why don't we have it swell open a little bit and then close off? So if we bring up envelope 1 amount on our filter, and we can adjust the envelope. That's actually kind of cool. Not what I was going for, but that's not what we're looking for, is it? So we want to do this. Okay, so if you notice, our envelope for the filter has a release on it, but we're not hearing it, and that's because the amplifier is just cutting it off. And then give it some release. we'll hear it go away. And we have 832. Let's... The envelope 2 has an attack. You hear a little bit of a click in there. So we need to bring in some attack on there. All right, I like the sound of that. So we do need some chorus. So let's put some pre-effects in here. We want lots of chorus on this. All right, and of course, every pad needs to be just swamped with reverb, so let's bring some in. Maybe we need just a little bit more release on that. We'll do it on both the envelope and the filter. Okay, so here's our basic pad sound. We do have the default ribbon controls as well as our mod wheel. I do tend to leave the ribbon and mod wheel as they are because in all my patches they do pretty much the same thing. I know that if it's my patch, the ribbon's going to do pitch like that and the mod wheel is going to do vibrato. We could change that, but so be it. The other thing I tend to do a lot of is poly aftertouch. A lot of the time I'll have it open a filter, but in this case our filter's going to be wide open as long as we hold the note. So what we could do is maybe create a link between the amp and LFO2. So if we have the amplifier set up here, and we'll bring up LFO2 amount and then bring LFO2 up a bit. That's kind of cool. And now we go back to amplifier and we bring LFO2 amount back down to 0. And now in the mod matrix, what we're going to do, oops, that's not mod matrix. In the mod matrix, we're going to set up poly aftertouch. And we will connect it to the amplifier, wherever the amplifier is. And it's LFO2 amount, and we'll crank that up. So when we press into the poly aftertouch, we get that that amplitude modulation. What would be cool is if we could have an envelope that affected the speed of that LFO. So if we set up envelope 3, so if we create a a mod matrix connection from envelope 3 and we have it modulate LFO2 and the rate for it, and we'll just crank that up. Now and we say envelope 3 we're going to set up so that it has a 0 sustain, and it takes a while for it to decay, like maybe 2 seconds. So now if I push into it, okay, that is kind of cool sounding. So what's happening now is the rate of LFO2 is starting off very, very quickly, and because it's being controlled by envelope 3, and then as the longer we hold the note, as envelope 3 tapers down, it slows down on LFO2, and we hear that modulating the amp if we're in polytouch. So if we don't press into polytouch, we hear nothing. But if I press into polytouch, and that's probably a little bit too much there, so let's bring that down. And our rate here is a bit too high still. So this is kind of just a tweaking and tuning exercise at this point. All right, so there's our pad. I think I'm pretty happy with that. What are we going to call that? It's like a Flutter Pad. So let's save that one. And we'll say it is a pad. And the color for this, I think it's kind of like a purplish color. Yeah. All right, let's save that. Okay, oh, you know what? I need to rename that because I forgot to put my initials on it. I always put my initials at the end of my sounds, because then I know when I go through it that, hey, this isn't something that's downloaded from somewhere. This is one that I actually created myself, because I never remember. All right, so there's Flutter Pad SM. And then our other one was Hot Lead. Cool. All right, so we got one more knit slot, and let's see what we can do with this one. What type of sound are we going to create this one? Well, we did that lead kind of sound already. Let's do a kind of a plucky sound. And I feel like this should be a kind of a bell. Well, that's kind of cool. That's got a harmonic in there, and it's got some resonance. I like the sound of that. Maybe bit redux on that. A little extra sound in there to work with. And then we're going to pair that. Actually, we want a ring mod. Yeah, we want some ring mod. And then we want oscillator 2. Let's bring that up. There's lots of harmonics there to work with. And that's We could do chords with that. All right, so now we have, this is what our sound is going to be like. As you can tell, I'm just picking the stuff at random, but just how it sounds. You know, what am I looking for? I don't know. Just however it sounds. We want a plucky sound. I'm going to start this time with our envelope on the amplifier. So let's bring up the velocity envelope. Velocity envelope, obviously, is because now we can play louder and get a louder sound. And then for our envelope that we're going to be playing here, we want an attack with a quick decay down to a low sustain. Happy with that. Let's now that we've got that envelope in there, because I just wanted to get the sound of a pluck in there, let's go back to our mutants and see what we can do with these. It's a very digital sounding bell or pluck. Get some harmonics in there. All right. And on oscillator 2, we were using that spectral sound, so let's maybe a wave stack. Oh, that's cool. I like that. Do we need an oscillator 3 in here at all? Just a lower solid bottom end. Okay, I like the sound of that. Filter! What are we going to use for a filter here? What are we going to sound like? What we do need to do is envelope, but let's perhaps do that on filter 2. Let's have a look at our voice menu, and we're going to bring in some stereo width when we're playing chords. All right, for our filters, right now they're in series. Let's keep it that way. So filter 1 feeds to filter 2. So filter 1 is going to be our main filter. And we want to bring in some envelope for filter 1. Or do we? You know what? Let's do it for filter... Yeah, let's do it for filter 1. All right, so now we've got the envelope triggering the filter. little too much. So let's bring up the sustain. So now when we hit a key, the filter is open and it quickly shuts it off, so we get that kind of a plucky sound. FX. Let's have a look at what we want to put in here. As always, I love my chorus. This one definitely needs some delay, and we want to put stereo delay. Or panned? Yes. And some reverb. Not too much because we don't want to obscure the delay. All right, that's my plucky sound. And what are we going to call this one? Let's save it, and we will call this, it's not ambient art bass. Oh, I don't know. Let's call it percussive. And the color for this is pink, I think. There we go, pink. And we're going to call this Percolator SM. So there we go. There's our 3 sounds I'm going to put on the description of this video. We have hot lead. We have Flutter Pad. And we have Percolator. Alright, those sounds were totally not what I thought was going to come out of this video, but there you go. It's different every time. I hope you got some valuable information. If you were hesitant on doing sound design your own on the Hydrasynth, maybe this will help. The techniques I showed here and used are not unique to the Hydrasynth. The Hydrasynth is at its core a subtractive synthesizer, so the same applies to the Cobalt, to even the Phantom if it's emulating an analog synthesizer, or the ones hiding under the covers here. I've got a Roland System 8, subtractive synth, Novation Summit, subtractive synth. So those same concepts apply to pretty much all subtractive synthesizers. There are differences. Obviously, the Hydrasynth has different effects. It has those mutators, which don't exist on other synths. It has a lot more routing and envelopes and LFOs and mod matrix and other synths. But at its core, it's the same kind of deal. You can do the same sort of thing on other subtractive synthesizers. And once you've learned it on one, you can really apply it to the others. And then all you have to learn is just the differences that apply to that one unique synthesizer. I intentionally did not show dual layer or split sounds on the Hydrasynth Deluxe because I think a lot less people have Hydrasynth Deluxe than the other Hydrasynths. Certainly if you want to double up on the sounds and incorporate 2 different sounds as layers and splits and so on, then you can do that. If not, then you can use your regular OG Hydrasynth Desktop Explorer, whichever one you have. You see I got my Hydrasynth shirt on today. Whichever of those Hydrasynths you love the best, hey, what I just showed you will work just fine on them. If you don't have a Hydrasynth, what are you waiting for? I got links down in the description below. Click one and buy yourself a Hydrasynth. Seriously, it's a fantastic synthesizer, and if you're at all interested in sound design, it's really what you should be looking at. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. I do read all of those comments, and I really appreciate all the people that do write comments and take the time to interact with me on these videos. It really makes me feel great to know that I'm helping people and that people are actually deriving benefit from the videos I'm creating. And if you do think you're deriving some benefit, hey, click like, click subscribe. Who's it gonna hurt? And it helps me out a lot when you do that. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching.